right, important background info. 1980, Iraq decided to invade Iran. Why? Don't really care. Not pertinent to the story. However, at the end of that war, Iran decides, hey, we're going to pull a page out of the old Art of War by Sun Tzu. We're going to cut off the enemy supply lines, deprive the enemy of nice things. It's going to work out great. Iraq's got a weak navy. We're going to wipe out their navy, and then every time they send out an oil tanker through the Persian Gulf, we're going to blow that up. So they can't sell any liquid dinosaur. They can't make any money. They go broke.
I wonder who actually has the strongest navy, because obviously there's fighter jets, and there's, you get the air force, then you got the land force, shall we call it. But I'm curious to who has the strongest navy, and if everyone went to war, whose navy would win? Russia. Russia is fucking massive, man. I wouldn't be surprised if they're top three. They've got to be top two, top three.
Apparently, we're going to war with them soon.
In the UK.
Better get ready, honey.
Yeah, right.
Russia.
You see that happen? I'm back to where
Algeria.
they told me to go to. Yeah. My own country.
We win the war. Hooray. It's a solid plan. So they do exactly that. Then Kuwait comes out of left field and they're like, hey, we've been financially backing Iraq through this entire war for the past 7 years. We need to make sure they win so we can get our money back. So we're going to go ahead and let Iraq use our oil tankers to export oil.
Damn.
So Iran is like, well, that's an easy problem to solve. I'll just blow up all the Kuwaiti oil tankers as well, which is exactly what they do. But here's the catch. Kuwait at this point in time is like the one major exporter of oil that wasn't really part of OPEC, meaning that they were selling oil on the global market significantly cheaper than everybody else, driving down the entire oil market. And now that their oil tankers are getting blown up as well, it means that Kuwait can no longer sell oil on the cheap, meaning that Iran has now inadvertently committed the cardinal sin of the late 20th century, raising gas prices. Now the entire...
Let's be real, raising gas prices will trigger a lot of countries, because if Kuwait's the main supplier, that Arab oil, and they're getting locked down by Iran, the amount of countries that are going to say, nah, because by doing that, you're fucking with a lot of countries' oil supply.
Yeah.
They're the biggest one, they're doing it cheap as well. By doing that, you're causing enemies, boy.
The entire Western world looks over at the Persian Gulf like, the fuck?
NATO.
The ghost of Sun Tzu's sitting there shaking his head like, that's the one exception. I would have messed with any supply line except for that one, because we all know what happens next.
Damn, the boys are out.
Yeah, America then proceeds to assemble the largest naval convoy operation since World War II, send them into the Persian Gulf to protect Kuwaiti oil tankers. It is at this moment that Iran should have been like, well, that's unfortunate, time to figure out plan B, because this obviously is not going to work out. However, they decide that they're going to double down. What they're going to do is they're going to take a bunch of magnetic underwater mines, and they're just going to spread them out all over the Persian Gulf.
Not gonna lie, Iran are brave, because
they're not messing around.
From when America get involved like that, and they're like, guiding the oil tankers because you fucked with their oil now, a lot of countries would have backed off then.
Yeah.
And instead they said, nah, we're going to go from underwater. You're taking a mix.
We're going to show you what we're made of. We're not scared of you would say.
Iran are brave.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Off in international waters, and that's not going to have any consequences at all. So fast forward, April 14th, 1988, the USS Samuel B. Roberts, a guided missile frigate, which is basically brand new at this point, this is like its first big operation, is out there escorting a Kuwaiti oil tanker, and it runs into a minefield, hits a mine, blows up the keel of the ship. The keel is this bottom part right here. It supports and stabilizes the structure of the entire ship, and it gets blown completely in half. At this point, the only thing holding this boat together is the actual deck. 1 second, everything's fine. The next second, there's a 15-foot wide hole in the bottom of your ship. Everything's on fire and water is rushing in.
Imagine.
The USS Samuel B. Roberts took on half of its weight in water in the first minute. This is a catastrophic amount of damage that would sink 99% of ships, but as fate would have it, the crew of the USS Samuel B. Roberts had already been winning competitions for having the best damage control crew in the Navy. So the entire crew gets to work. They're putting out fires, they're plugging holes, they're literally cinching the hull together with steel cables trying to stabilize it.
What a mad life, when you think about it, us as the normal civilians are living our normal lives, going 9 to 5s or whatever it is, living a normal life, family. Then you got these people that are out in the army or in the Navy, and you don't even know what's...
They're fighting for our rights.
You don't even know what's happening while we're living our normal lives. Imagine that. These are putting out fires on a boat.
Life-risking situation as well.
Middle of the ocean against another country. That's madness.
God.
because the only thing holding it together is a deck at this point. Over the course of the next 5 hours, the entire crew fights their ass off and somehow manages to get the situation under control and limp the ship all the way back to Dubai where they can get it to a port. And the most incredible part of all of it, not a single American was killed, only 10 men were injured during the fire and the initial explosion. So, the crew survived, the boat's basically completely destroyed, then America sends in an underwater crew, figure out what happened, they find the remnants of the mine, they check out the other mines, yep, they're Iranian. At this point, now somebody has to inform the president, because this is a big deal, and the president at this point in time is, let me check my notes, fucking Ronald Reagan.
I'm from the government, and I'm here to help.
So they go ahead and they brief Ronald Reagan on everything that happened. He's
I don't know who that Ronald Reagan guy is, but I'd rather him than Joe Biden. Joe Biden was be like, ice cream tastes nice today. That would be his response.
Oh, how's that little girl? How's her ear?
super happy that everybody survived, and he's like, okay, well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to issue a proportional response. And what the U.S. Navy heard was, awesome. All right, so here's the plan. Iran currently has 3 oil rigs in the Persian Gulf that are not being used for drilling oil, but as military bases for their naval operations. So the U.S. Navy is going to go ahead and take out all 3 of those.
Damn.
Now, I don't really know what the guided missile frigate to oil rig exchange ratio is, but we're going to go ahead and err on the side of caution and say that it's not quite proportional enough yet.
They must have blown those places up to pieces, boy.
So Iran also really only has like 2 modern naval vessels. That's the Iranian frigate Sahand and the Iranian frigate Sabatland. They're going to go ahead and take out at least one of those, maybe both. We'll see how proportional they want to get. And then by the time they get all that done, that should be a nice 8-hour workday. It'll be time to clock out and go get some ice cream. So in order to get all this done by quitting time, they're going to go ahead and establish 3 different surface attack groups. Each group is going to have 2 destroyers and 1 bonus ship. That bonus ship is either going to be an amphibious landing ship or a frigate. Either way, they're all going to be identified as Bravo, Charlie, and Delta. Bravo group is tasked with taking out 2 oil rigs. Charlie group is tasked with taking out the 1 remaining oil rig. And Delta's mission is to go hunt down those 2 frigates and take them out. And then, just for insurance purposes, we're also going to have the USS Enterprise parked right outside the Persian Gulf to provide air support, you know, in case we need it. So, April 8th.
America don't fuck about, boy. See, they're lucky that they're doing a proportionate response rather than saying, yep, we're going to wipe out like half the country. Imagine that. That would be fucking crazy.
Are you trying to relate to something?
Well, people can say that's what's happening with Palestine and Israel, but we'll get into that in another video. We've done videos on that stuff, you know, watch it.
18th, 1988, 4 days after the mining of the USS Samuel B. Roberts, Operation Praying Mantis goes into full swing, and Bravo Group shows up at their oil rig first. At which point they radio over to the oil rig and inform them that they will be blowing it up in 5 minutes and that they should all leave.
Damn.
So, a bunch of people start leaving. They hop in tugboats and take off. Bravo Group, seeing that they're making an honest effort to actually evacuate, agrees to give them 15 more minutes. So, fast forward 20 minutes later, they send out another radio message, hey, time's up. They then fire the 5-inch guns right over the top of the oil rig with the rounds set to airburst, hopefully scaring off any stragglers. And it is at this point that some Iranian military member decides that he is going to audition to be the main character of this story because he hops on a 23mm anti-aircraft gun and opens fire on Bravo Group. And without skipping a beat, one of the...
That's brave. Main character vibes. He thinks he's the man. Let's see what happens.
He thinks he's playing Fortnite.
He thinks this is like, yeah, the bit of Call of Duty. Oh yeah, I've done this before on COD. Like, this is mine. On COD, I had a 20 kill streak, so I'm sure I could do something like that in real life.
Yeah, in real life, you know?
The 5-inch guns on one of the destroyers just goes, poof, and just fucking direct hit smokes this dude. Barely touches the rest of the oil rig. This guy... definitely not the main character, but the silver lining, he at least made it into the credits as Baloney Missed Cloud number 1. Now, obviously, I'm paraphrasing here, but at this point, Bravo Group radios over to the oil rig one last time, something along the lines of, hey, does anybody else need to find out what it's like to chew 5 gum? Are you fuckers ready to quit? The oil rig finally radios back and is like, yeah, please cease fire. We're gonna leave. So all the Iranian military members leave. Bravo Group decides to open up on it for a little bit with the 5-inch guns before sending over a couple of Hueys full of Marines. The Marines hop out, place some demo charges, hop back on the helicopters, take off. The entire oil rig blows up, and already things are getting more proportional.
That explosion must have looked mad, like something out of a movie scene. Crazy, man.
And while all that was happening, Charlie Group made it to their first oil rig as well, and pretty much the exact same thing played out. The only differences were Charlie Group didn't have Marines to place the demo charges, they had Navy SEALs, and when the Iranians opened up with the 23mm anti-aircraft guns, they just decided to keep firing 5-inch shells at the oil platform until it burst into flames and burnt the entire thing to the ground.
Wow.
At which point, the commander of the destroyer kind of looks over at the Navy SEALs and is like, sorry, I guess you guys get to sit this one out.
Oh, mission got canceled? Good.
And while all
Because they don't need to go blow it up because that fucking gun blew it up anyway.
that's going down, Bravo Group's already making their way over to the third oil rig, at which point they pick up something on radar, and it's definitely another enemy ship headed right towards them. And at this point, you have to remember, this is the late 1980s. None of the American sailors have seen naval warfare on this scale. The pucker factor is on. They are getting harpoon missiles ready, and they are about to get in like one of the biggest naval fights since World War II. At which point, whoever's in charge of Bravo Group decides to take a deep breath, and they're like, okay, let's send up a helicopter real quick just to verify that it's actually an enemy ship. So
Imagine the adrenaline. They're like, shit. All right,
Yeah.
we're about on.
This
we're
is a
about
life
to,
or death situation.
This is literally like free. You know what? That film we watched, 300, the second one, when they're
yeah.
fighting on the boat.
Spartan!
Spartan.
That was a sick film.
That was, yeah. The adrenaline must be, like you said, life and death
It's
situation.
life and death situation.
Fight or flight.
the helicopter goes up, radios back to Bravo Group. It's definitely a warship, but it's a Soviet destroyer. At which point everybody's like, what? What is happening right now? So they radio over to this Russian destroyer. And they're like, what are your intentions? And the Russian commander radios back in broken English. I swear to God, this is a real quote. I'm just here to take pictures for history. Look, I know that I bash on the Soviet Union and communism every single chance I get, but this time around, I got to give it to them. These guys know how to party.
They're
just
brave.
straight up rolling into the middle of the largest naval operation since World War II to eat popcorn and watch. It's incredible. At this point, Iran finally figures out that there's something going on, but they don't really know what, so they just begin attacking any ship they can find, and the first ship they found was a civilian cargo ship called the Willie Tide, that they begin attacking with Boghammer-style speedboats. So the Willie Tide radios for help, the USS Enterprise responds by sending up a bunch of A6 intruders, as well as F-14 Tomcats.
When these bad boys come out, you know shit is about to go down. Do you think these fighter jets can just like blow up a ship easily? Or do you think that would be like if there's like a fighter boat, yeah, like imagine a big like military boat.
I feel it'll take a couple of them to take down a ship.
Like it won't just be like.
I don't think one can take it.
Yeah, I don't think one can do it unless it.
I mean, I don't know how powerful they are.
But
the missiles compared to a ship.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is it loaded? Are these loaded with missiles or
I'm
machine gun
assuming
bullets?
a ship, in terms of its exterior, will be so much more dense.
It must be
compared to an aircraft.
Because a ship is a big.
And an aircraft needs to be light to be able to go fast.
Yeah. Then again, it depends on the ammunition.
Yeah.
If it's got proper explosives, then I don't know. That's a different conversation, I think.
The A6 intruders show up, start dropping cluster bombs. They end up hitting one of the speedboats and scattering the rest. The civilian cargo ship is saved. Hooray. Cutting back to Charlie Group, now there's an Iranian fast attack ship coming right at them. So they radio over like, hey, yeah, we're kind of going around blowing up all your stuff, but also we've got a very specific list. You're not on it. So how about you just go away and we'll forget we saw you. The Iranian fast attack ship messages back, sounds good, we'll do that. And then they just keep driving right towards them. And then this Iranian fast attack ship gets within like 15 miles of Charlie Group, which is like point blank range for a naval battle. Charlie Group radios again, dude, what are you doing? To which they respond, I'm following orders. And then they proceeded to lock their radar on Charlie Group, which
15 miles is enough range for a point blank fight on the sea. 15 miles.
15 miles is quite long.
To me, that's in car journey. That's
long.
Massive.
Yeah.
But in the open ocean where there's nothing blocking and it's just open ocean, apparently that's the
Imagine
perfect.
how fast that must go as well.
Yeah, it must launch. Man.
Yeah. Especially in the sea.
Charlie Group can see. At which point Charlie Group immediately launches 5 missiles directly at the Iranian vessel. The Iranian vessel fires a harpoon missile back at Charlie Group. Both groups now have missiles in the air screaming towards one another. The Americans launch countermeasures, shooting up chaff rockets that end up catching the harpoon missile, detonating it in midair. The Iranian vessel, on the other hand, did not have any countermeasures capable of stopping the newer technology behind the American missiles, and it would end up getting sunk pretty much immediately. Then, before anybody can really even fully digest what just happened, radar picks up 3 Iranian F-4s screaming towards Charlie Group. Charlie Group then...
Iran, they fucking did a power play though, because a lot of countries would have just fucked off once America got to that level.
They're not holding back.
These are like, nah,
They're
we're not
fighting.
letting no America take us over.
I don't care who you are.
Yeah, they are brave, man, like I said earlier.
turns, fires a bunch of surface-to-air missiles at the F-4s. The F-4s see him coming. They're like, oh shit. They pop a U-turn and try to outrun them. F-4s, while they are extremely fast, can't outrun missiles, so one of the missiles ends up blowing a wing off one of the F-4s. Now America has taken out an entire naval vessel and an F-4 that they did not plan on taking out, and it's throwing off all of our proportions. And because of that, American leadership orders Bravo Group to stand down. We're not going to go take out that third oil rig. And right as soon as that order gets given out, Delta Group chimes in, is like, hey, we found that frigate we were looking for. So now nobody knows what to do, because on one hand, things are already getting out of control, but on the other hand, we really want to take out these frigates. So American leadership decides, well, we might not even have to make a hard decision. Maybe that's not even the frigate and the radar's wrong. Why don't you go ahead and send a couple A6 intruders over, do a flyby. They can verify that it's actually this new modern frigate. And if it is, we'll make a decision from there. Or so they thought, because the A6 pilots are about to...
Do you think it's going to be the frigate?
No.
I think it is.
You think it is?
I think it is. Well, I don't know, but let's see.
Maybe it is the frigate.
Maybe it's not.
Decide that they are, in fact, the main characters of this story. You see, the USS Enterprise and its aircraft aren't really supposed to be doing a whole lot. They're more or less just there for insurance. In fact, they're only allowed to engage the enemy under one of two conditions. One, the President of the United States signs off on it, which is actually what happened with the speedboats earlier. Or two, they get fired upon first. So they got told to go fly by this boat to verify that it is in fact the new modern frigate, but they didn't get told how to fly by the boat, so they drop down 50 feet above the water and just gun it, and they buzz the entire ship. So the ship opens fire with its AA guns, but these planes are so low to the water, the AA guns can't actually aim down low enough, so all the anti-aircraft fire goes right over the top of them.
That's a strategy, so they got so low. But they've done a madness. They're not meant to such. No. They're meant to get that shit signed off by the president, boy. They
went straight for
it. They said, fuck that.
They said, Mr. President, we gotta do this.
They said, look, we've been playing Call of Duty last night. We want to do this shit. I've been itching to do this for the last 10 years.
In the game.
No one's stopping me now, bro.
They continue to stay low enough till they get out of anti-aircraft gun range, and then they pull up, at which point the ship launches a bunch of surface-to-air missiles at them. They drop chaff as a countermeasure, takes care of those, no big deal. They then go around, do a U-turn, send a radio message to this frigate, I'm going to sink you now. Which they can now legally do, because remember, the ship fired on them first.
You fell victim to one of the classic blunders.
So the A6 fires an anti-ship harpoon missile, and the second they pull the trigger on that, the fire control team from the USS Enterprise is like, what the fuck are you doing? We're not supposed to be killing things yet. And the A6s are like, look, they fired at us first.
They did, technically.
And the USS Enterprise is like, holy shit, okay, I guess. Let him have it. Then the harpoon missile finally makes impact. It's a bullseye. The A6s do a U-turn, go, drop another 500-pound laser-guided bomb right through the deck of this frigate, fly past it, do another U-turn, come back, drop a 1,000-pound bomb on it. Then they radio over the Enterprise.
1,000 pounds getting dropped from the air with gravity just to fucking blow up this. Look at that.
Imagine the impact. Yeah.
The impact's dirty. And like you said, the boat's really dense.
1,000 pounds.
So 1,000 pounds.
With gravity bringing it down.
And just getting dropped like that. Boof. And the material of that shit must be...
see the ship.
Yeah, it's
the
wrecked.
state it's in.
And like,
Gone.
it's
Everyone
definitely going to sink. We're going to head back. So the A6s take off, headed back to the Enterprise, and like 5 minutes later, Delta Group shows up with their warships and begin firing on the already sinking frigate.
Like it wasn't enough.
The magazine, the frigate explodes.
Hey, that's an overkill. That's an insurance policy. Like, they want to make sure that shit's going down. They're like, oh, that massive fire? Nah, I don't think it's
not enough. Let's still shoot it just in case.
Because while they're at it, they might as well.
Yeah.
Rapidly sinks to the ocean floor. At this point, naval leadership is like, okay, Jesus Christ, everybody stop killing things. We need to figure out what all happened. We got to keep this proportional. Remember.
That's mad.
So they start radioing back and forth. Everybody's figuring out what everybody did, if anybody's hurt, what's going on, the whole story. And then as the A6s are making their way back to the USS Enterprise, guess what they happen to fly past?
The other one.
The other modern frigate.
Yeah,
so now the entire US Navy's looking at this last frigate like SpongeBob looking at a jug of water.
I don't need it. I don't need it.
But also, like, realistically speaking, the A6s are pretty much out of ammunition. The only thing they have left are 2,000-pound bombs, and those just aren't going to be enough by themselves without a harpoon missile to take down this ship anyways. So
That's mad.
they really are just going to fly by and verify that it's the modern frigate. So the A6 intruders go ahead, they do their flyby. It is in fact the new frigate that they thought it was, and it does in fact open fire on the A6s. A6s make it out completely unscathed, at which point they pop a U-turn, and one of the A6 pilots is like,
It's the bullseye womp rats in my T-16 back home.
So the
Imagine flying that fucking plane and just you got this ship shooting at you and you're like flying and you're dodging in the air, and you know that's literally so mad when you do like.
That's scary.
Yeah, but they're trained, isn't it? And the thing is, it's like
adrenaline must be so high at that point.
They can't panic. They're going to be so
you have to stay
composed.
calm,
Composed because they know one wrong mistake,
they're gone.
life's over. Yeah.
A6 pulls up, gaining altitude, and then dives down, aims its nose right at the frigate at like a 35-degree angle. They're doing a good old-fashioned dive bombing run like it's fucking World War II. The AA guns start firing, there's bullets whizzing past the plane, but they're committed now. They're closing in. The bombardier behind the pilot lets the pilot know, hey, I'm locked on. At which point, bombs away, the pilot pulls up,
Oh, shit.
and the bomb goes right down the fucking smokestack of this boat. Blows up, completely destroying the entire engine room. That frigate is now dead in the water with no power. The A6s go ahead and radio in that they have completely disabled this frigate, at which point the American leadership calls a complete ceasefire. They're going to go ahead and let that frigate survive, get towed off, potentially be repaired.
Do you think Russia's still taking pictures on their boat on the side?
They are.
Like, yo,
That's
did you
for
see that
history.
one? Oh
Yeah.
shit, that one was
Oh, look
mad.
at that bomb. Oh my god.
With the US Navy having effectively disabled or destroyed over half of Iran's functioning navy, the US military decides to call it a good day, ends Operation Praying Mantis. We all get to live
Praying
happily
Mantis.
ever after. Except, later that night, Iran decided that they wanted to fight a little bit more, and they launched a bunch of Silkworm anti-ship missiles at American vessels. Luckily, no American vessels were actually hit. However, this is now a huge political problem because America has been mad at the fact that Iran even had Silkworm missiles for years at this point, and the American government has made it very clear to Iran that if they ever used them, they would be going to war with America. Period. That's set in stone.
That must be because that technology shouldn't be in Iran's hands, or they're very, very dangerous to the point where they can do so much like after damage. Because why would America warn them that if they're ever used,
Then you're
we're
going
straight-
at war,
That's like
yeah.
you know, like countries warn about nukes. Like there's
Yeah.
bare people that they got a couple countries the nuke button, but no one dares to touch that button, even
Yeah.
though they have it. It's just
It's forbidden.
yeah. If you touch it, it's an all-out war. Like World War
Yeah.
III starts, and that's like obviously it's not to that extreme, but from when America's warning them to if those bombs ever go out, you're in war with us. Those bombs must be serious. That
And
they
they were
tried.
hiding that the whole time.
They hid it, yeah.
Like, look what we got.
And they try to fucking launch it at America, saying, "Yeah, you think you're sick?" And Iran's brave, man. What the
God.
fuck? I didn't know they're like that. It's
We would
mad.
die.
So the Reagan administration, not wanting to kick off World War III in the 1980s, reaches out to the Iranian government and is like, here's what's going to happen. You're going to go ahead and admit that that was an accident. I'm going to sweep it under the rug and we're never going to talk about it again. Because if this makes headline news and the American people
World
find
War
out,
III.
I'm going to have to get real proportional around here. So Iran's like, okay, fine, whatever. It was an accident. Let's sweep that whole thing under the rug. But I am still going to take America to international court to try to prove that it was a war crime to take out my oil rigs. That way I can get reparations and make America pay for it. So they go to international court. They lay out the case. The international court is looking at America like, okay, well, first of all, you're the fraction people. I don't know how you think that this is proportional, but it definitely wasn't. Second of all, according to the Amity Act, you absolutely should not have attacked their oil rigs. This is probably a war crime. At which point the representative for America is like, well, actually, if you read the Amity Treaty between Iran and the United States, it only talks about ships and boats. It don't say shit about oil rigs, meaning I wasn't obligated to not attack
Damn.
those oil rigs.
Smart.
At which point the court is like, hold on.
Get the book out, boy.
Fucking, he's right, son of a bitch. Okay, well, I guess
That's hilarious. They knew what they're doing, man.
America's innocent because I've said it once and
What would have happened? Like, let's just say a mad war crime is committed and proven in the international court. What, does the president get locked up or something, or is it like
Actually
bigger
don't
than
know.
that? Let us know,
It must
guys.
be bigger than that.
Yeah, I think the president gets fucked, but I think there's more impact than
Because
just
you're
the
leading
president.
the country and you're sacrificing so many lives as well. Look at all these people that went into this.
But that's what they're trying to do to Putin. They're trying to take him to. I don't know if there's international court at the moment or if it's going to happen, but they're trying to say he's committing mad war crimes at the moment with Ukraine.
I think it'll be jail time, no?
Yeah, but it must be. I don't know. Is it like just Putin though? I'm sure it must be his whole. Will it just be Putin on his own, or will
Let
it be?
us know if anybody knows.
I'm new to all
Yeah.
this. I don't know how it works, but let us know.
I'll say it again. It's never a war crime the first time. And now for the best part of the entire story. America now proceeds to go over to Dubai, pick up what's left of the USS Samuel B. Roberts, tow it all the way back to Maine, then take the ship out of the water, get it in dry dock, cut out the entire damaged section of the ship, including the engine compartment, build another module to fit in its place. This thing weighs like 300 tons. They
Oh my
jack it
God,
up, weld it
tons.
right where it's at, get everything rehooked up, reconnected. This boat is back out on the ocean 1 year later on April 1st, 1989.
Wow.
It then goes on to get recommissioned and serves in the Navy until 2015. I mean, playing Battleship against America's gotta suck, right? Like, haha, I've sunk your frigate. And America's like, first of all, no, you didn't. Second of all,
We'll fix
fuck
it.
your entire Navy as it picks up your board and just throws it at the wall. So in conclusion, if you do ever find yourself being the leader of a foreign nation one day, the best advice that I can possibly give you is A, do whatever you can to not raise gas prices, and B,
Don't fuck
whatever
with
you
America.
do not fuck with America's
Yeah,
boats. We do not like that shit.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching. Best way to support the channel is like, comment, subscribe. Maybe